test number 2, practice test / review, question number 4, A, B, C, and G. There's also on the practice test a section E and F, but I will let you do those on your own. We are asked to differentiate, in this case, y equals x squared e to the negative 3x. When I find the derivative, I have to use the product rule. So I take the derivative of the first thing, I leave the second thing alone, plus leave the first thing alone and take the derivative of the second thing. When I take the derivative of x squared, I get 2x, then multiply by e to the minus 3x plus x squared, and then take the derivative of e to the minus 3x. The derivative then is e to the minus 3x times, using the chain rule, the derivative of negative 3x. This simplifies to 2x e to the minus 3x minus 3x squared e to the minus 3x. Number B. F of t equals t times the sine of pi t. Once again, I have to use the product rule. I take the derivative of the first thing, I leave the second thing alone. Then plus, leave the first thing alone, and take the derivative of the second thing. When I take the derivative of t, that's just 1, sine pi t, plus t, leaving it alone, taking the derivative of sine pi t, I get cosine pi t times the derivative from the chain rule of pi t. This is still sine of pi t plus, now the derivative of pi t is just equal to pi, so I have pi t times the cosine of pi t. Number C. Once again, in this case, I'm going to have to use the product rule. The derivative of the first term times leave the second term alone, plus leave the first term alone times the derivative of the second term. So we need to find those derivatives. The derivative of t plus 1 raised to the 2/3. I take the exponent and drop it down in front, 2/3, and then multiply by t plus 1, all raised to the 2/3 minus 1, so that simplifies to minus 1/3. In this case, we also need to do the chain rule on t plus 1, but the derivative of t plus 1 is just 1, so I'm really multiplying by a 1 here, times, and then recopy that second term, plus, just recopy, t plus 1 raised to 2/3. Then I need to take the derivative of the second thing, and when I do that, I drop the exponent out in front, then raise it to the squared. 3 minus 1 is 2. Recopy the inside part, 2t squared minus 1, times, from the chain rule, I need to find the derivative of the inside part. All of this is all the same. Now I'm finding the derivative of the inside part, which is 4t. Then I can simplify. 4g. In this situation, I have a function divided by a different function. So I need to use the quotient rule to take the derivative. So I take the derivative of the top, multiplied by the bottom, doing nothing, minus, recopy the top, times the derivative of the bottom. Then I take the bottom and square it. In this case, I have the square root of sine 2t plus t, and when I square it, the square root simplifies and I get sine of 2t plus t. Taking the derivative of the top, I get 2t. Recopy. Now the derivative of the square root of sine 2t plus t. That is 1/2 sine 2t plus t raised to the minus half times, now I have to do the chain rule, so taking the derivative of the inside part. The derivative of the inside part. All of these first several things are not changed. Now the derivative of the inside part. That is cosine 2t, then the chain rule again for what happened inside. The derivative of 2t is 2, plus 1, because the derivative of t is 1. At this point, the calculus is really done. And if this is how you left your answer on the test or quiz, I would certainly consider that correct. But we could also simplify this, which I have done in several steps, until finally I get the final answer. Once again, once the calculus is finished, I am satisfied that you have given the proper answer.